Most people think the Catholic Church was invented by the Roman Empire as a tool for political control. But the truth is actually much more scandalous, chaotic, and fascinating than a simple government takeover. If you ask a historian, a theologian, and a skeptic who started the Catholic Church, you'll get three completely different answers, and honestly, all of them are kind of right. To find the real founder, we have to travel back to a dusty corner of the Roman Empire, where a group of fishermen were about to do something that would outlast the empire itself. The traditional answer, and the one you'll hear from the church itself, is that Jesus Christ is the founder. But here is the catch. Jesus didn't walk around wearing a mitre or handing out communion wafers in a cathedral. He was a Jewish rabbi talking about the kingdom of God. However, there is a specific moment in the Gospel of Matthew that Catholics point to as the birth certificate of the institution. Jesus looks at a fisherman named Simon and says, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church." In Greek, Peter means Petros, and rock means Petra. This pun is basically the foundation of the entire papacy. From a theological perspective, the who is Jesus, and the how is Peter. But if you stop the story there, you're missing how a small Jewish sect turned into a global powerhouse. For the first few decades, there was no Catholic Church. It was just called the Way. These were small groups of people meeting in houses, hiding from authorities, and sharing meals. If you walked into a meeting in the year 50 AD, you wouldn't see a pope. You'd see people like Paul the Apostle, who was basically the world's first viral marketer. Paul is the one who took this message out of Jerusalem and into the heart of the Roman Empire. He established the structure of episkopos, which we now call bishops. This is where the who gets complicated. If Jesus provided the spark, Paul provided the engine. He turned a local movement into an international network. But where did the name Catholic even come from? It wasn't there at the start. The first time we see the word in writing is around the year 107 AD. A man named Ignatius of Antioch was being dragged to Rome to be executed by lions. On his way to his death, he wrote letters to different churches. He used the Greek word katholikos, which means universal or according to the whole. He wanted to distinguish the mainstream group of believers from the weird, a fringe sects that were starting to pop up. So if you're looking for the person who first branded the church as Catholic, Ignatius is your guy. He realized that for the movement to survive, it couldn't just be a bunch of random groups. It needed a brand, a name, and a unified leadership. Now we have to address the giant elephant in the room, Constantine the Great. This is where most internet theories go off the rails. A lot of people claim Constantine created the Catholic Church in the 4th century to unite his empire. That's not exactly true, but it's not entirely false either. Before Constantine, being a Christian was a great way to get yourself killed. In 313 AD, Constantine issued the Edict of Milan, which made Christianity legal. He didn't make it the official religion, that came later, but he did give it a seat at the table. He was tired of Christians arguing about the nature of God, so he called the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. He basically put all the bishops in a room and told them not to leave until they agreed on what they believed. This is when the church went from an underground movement to an institutional power. Constantine didn't invent the faith, but he gave it a desk, a budget, and a legal status. He turned the way into the imperial church. If we look at the who from a purely organizational standpoint, you could argue the church was created by the city of Rome itself. Why Rome? Why not Jerusalem or Antioch? Because Rome was the center of the world. Both Peter and Paul were executed there, and their graves became the ultimate power spots. The Bishop of Rome eventually started saying, "Hey, since I'm in the capital and I'm sitting on the bones of Peter, I'm the boss." This claim to patrine supremacy is what really solidified the Catholic Church as we know it today. It was a slow evolution from a group of friends in an upper room to a sophisticated hierarchy with the Pope at the top. So, when you ask who created the Catholic Church, you're looking at a multi-layered answer. You have the spiritual foundation of Jesus, the organizational genius of Paul, the branding of Ignatius, the legal legitimization of Constantine, and the political gravity of Rome. It's a 2,000-year-old game of telephone that somehow stayed on track. It survived the fall of the Roman Empire, the Middle Ages, the Reformation, and the modern era. Whether you see it as a divine creation or a masterpiece of human social engineering, or you can't deny that it is the most successful startup in human history. It shifted the calendar, it preserved ancient texts, and it shaped the very ethics of the Western world. The real who isn't just one person. It's a series of people who realize that ideas are powerful, but institutions are permanent. They took a message of radical love and built a fortress around it to make sure it survived the chaos of history. And whether you're a believer or a skeptic, you have to admit that the transition from a crucified carpenter to a global institution with over 1 billion members is the ultimate plot twist in human history. It's a story of how a small flame was fueled by martyrs and managed by emperors until it became a sun that the whole world had to orbit around. If you found this breakdown of history fascinating and want to dive deeper into the mysteries that shaped our world, make sure to hit that follow button, drop a comment with your thoughts on who you think the real founder was, and share this with someone who loves a good history deep dive.